The Ozark Overland Adventure Route is a 5-day self-supported trek across the Ozark National Forest. I've been to the Ozarks a few times in my life, but this is a whole different experience. Rock climbing, river crossings, muddy pits, beautiful landscapes, and breathtaking campsites make this a trip I would do again in a heartbeat. This video is going to show you some of the experiences our group had on this trip. If you do decide to go, I would advise provisions for a 100% self-supported dispersed camping, communications that does not include your cell phone, extra fuel, especially for days 2 and 3, and do not do this one alone. It's not Moab or some of the crazy trails in Colorado, but this one is remote. You will have to search for provisions and fuel. Stuff's out there, but it's not easy nor quick to come by. Driving to Arkansas from Minnesota isn't particularly a quick trip, but we decided to break the drive up over 2 days, starting out the actual OOAT on day 3. What did I think of the drive through the plains? Yeah, pretty much. We ended up the first night just stopping just south of Iowa into Missouri at a public campground on a lake. Now, I know you're not watching this video to see my trip down, but after this point we're in Arkansas now and it's starting to get gorgeous and it's warming up a little bit. We found some WMA land here near day 1 of the trail and set up camp to get a bright start, nice and early. Big credits to Jeff, who goes by Caucasian Asian 1 here on YouTube. I have his channel in the description below. Thanks, Jeff, for sharing your drone footage with me for this video. Go check out his channel for more cool adventures. I have a saying when I go on trips like these. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Always time to whip up some hot breakfast before breaking camp. All right. Enough prep. On with the trail. Here we go. Day 1 starts just south of St. Joe and goes to Treadwell Hollow by Raspberry Mountain. This trail does have some transits over pavement, but trust me, don't get too impatient. There's plenty of dirt. A little transit on pavement gave way to the first official OOAT dirt that we drove on. Following the group through the trees, it's a bit of a challenge. Again here, Jeff nailed it pretty well. Quickly after starting the official trail, you come down a little slough and you're up for your first of many water crossings across all the days of this. I've read the stories about how this first water crossing turns a lot of people around. It's so nuts and deep and fast other times of the year. But as you can see here, it's pretty tame, pretty low. So good luck for us, as having to redirect around this would have taken a big chunk out of how fun this trail is. Down the road here is the first kind of neat little hiking side trip you can do called the NARS, N-A-R-S. You climb up about probably a 50 to 75 foot little trail up a hill, and you get to see some really awesome horizons across both the left and right hand side as you're walking along a little cow path on the top of this rock outcropping. The hike took us a little bit. Between that and a little drone rescue mission, it took a good chunk of the morning. Thankfully, there are constantly little neat spots to stop at for lunch.
Would you guys like to stop here for lunch?
Exploring the area, this was a washout or a riverbed that I can assume gets pretty hairy when a downpour comes, but right now it's completely dry and full of neat things to see and nooks to explore. Walking down the wash, you can see where people have brought vehicles to muck about with, and it's always good to follow the solid rules of overlanding. Stay the trail, leave things cleaner than when you found them, and don't do dumb things to ruin this awesome stuff for the next person. Speaking of dumb things, we stopped at a campground to check out a hiking trail, and heading out of that campground, found somebody had dumped full garbage bags out along the road. Yes, we picked them up. Morons. This is the crap that gets trails closed. Come on, people. Pick up your stuff. Anyways, back on the road, aiming for the campsite for the evening. The forest roads we were driving came across 2 bridges. On all these adventures I do, for whatever reason, I just love seeing the kinds of bridges that the Forest Service, local counties, and private individuals even put up to support traffic along these roads. First one here, real bridge, single lane. Second one here is a reinforcement through a wash. Further up the road, we stopped at a small section of the Six Fingers Falls area to stretch our legs and check out the falls. Jeff again sent out his drone to check out under the falls and to zoom over to areas we didn't necessarily think it was super smart to hike over to, despite the wood steps right there nailed into the trees and rope swings stretched over the water. Maybe 20 years ago or so. Up until this point, the trail was mostly light forest roads and some neat points of interest along those roads. Enter the second half of the day. The trail picks up again after a short bout of pavement as an unmarked right-hand turn off of the road. Enter the first fun zone. Super tight, driving through the trees, ups and downs, tight turns, and as you'll see here in a second, a little bit of mud.
And if you look off to your right, halfway down the hill, someone didn't make the corner.
Yeah, you heard that right. Sure as heck. Definitely not a recent wreck, but right down there is a mangled vehicle of some sorts. It was about halfway down the hill. As you went around this corner, there was a bit of a dip. I could see that if there was some water, it kind of washed it out, and somebody did not make the turn.
How's everybody doing back there? Just fine.
When are we leaving the pavement? God.
As we're weaving through the forest, all of a sudden I see brake lights in front of me. Our lead Jeep had started a tight turn, and there was a dip in the middle, totally full of mud with a hump on the other side. Driving a Gladiator, his wheelbase was just a tad too long to travel through the dip, so bring out your straps, it's winching time. The other Jeeps were four doors, not a total walk in the park, but we played follow the leader through it and made it through it to pick up the trail. So here I go. Now, I was running lower tire pressures with my sway bars disconnected for the entire week, which was awesome, by the way. So it was just a crawl with some cool articulation through this dip. However, remember at the beginning of the video where there was a banner that said, "How the heck did I make it home?" Right there, Chris, the last gentleman there on the right, started hearing something weird right about now. More on that later.
Help.
Next mud hole. The Gladiator got about halfway through it, but this mud hole was just a bucket of snot. Enough height to trip you up, and zero support from the ground to grab your wheels, and nothing but gross, sticky mud in between. Straps and winch me again, dude. I always give everything the college try. I tried driver, the off-camber was too much. Passenger, the walls just kept falling in, and my tires were so goobered up by this point, I couldn't grab onto anything. A shot or two through it, but then grabbing the bypass here after that to keep the day moving. The rest of this area was just wet. Nothing too crazy from here, but enough just to keep the puddles there and keep the mud splashing up on the Jeep. Of course, I have to play here just a little bit.
Andy, you're a dork.
I have to do it once.
Oh boy. We had a fun part here. Every now and then, you'd hit a minor rock garden like this with water running down the middle of it, like a small creek bed. This one was probably 150 yards long, though. Now, while we were about 2 weeks early for the fall color down in the area, the sumac had already started. This was just gorgeous. The rest of the trail for day 2 was a bunch of river crossings as we were trying to pick out a campsite for the night. This one here was the most technical of the day. It was glugging on my floorboards, it was deep. And then it went even deeper right at the end as I was about to climb up here the bank full of loose rocks. Nothing your rig can't handle, though. Once we climbed out of that previous one, the rest of them were pretty low-key. Probably 4, 5, 6 inches deep at best, with little ramps in and little ramps out. Settling into a campsite for the night, we found this absolutely beautiful wash that still had some water in it. I haven't seen that shade of blue outside of the Gulf or maybe the Caribbean, and it was clear all the way to the bottom. Another awesome drone shot by Jeff here. So I'm not trying to sound too corny, but holy Hannah, why have I not visited this place before? I tell you, even while we're enjoying a fire around 10 p.m., I took about 10 steps back and took this picture with the night sky with my iPhone and saw the Milky Way clearly. I mean, come on, how awesome is that? Alrighty, that was just day 1. All of that, and there are 5 total days of trails. Don't worry, for this video, I only finished day 4 before, quote, the incident, unquote, and then ran out of time before I had to get back to the real world. So, starting day 2, we pick up a camp and headed for our next camp near Big Piney Creek in Fort Douglas. Here's another awesome shot of us crossing a bridge with our camping site right there in the background beyond the bridge. Now, if you're looking for water crossings, this is totally the place. I'd love to come back and see what they look like in high water season, but for us in October, everything was totally doable. I know there are those of you watching that take issue with driving through bodies of water like this. Yeah, I totally share your concern for unmitigated access, but these forest roads have these crossings in mind. Definitely make sure your rig is in good shape either way. Don't add your own drippings to nature.
Check out this spider web with the light through it.
I've seen videos of people just bombing through this trail system. Do yourself a favor, don't. Take the time to enjoy the scenery. Odds are you don't have this at home. Ooh, it's the, quote, let's take a look, quote, obstacle number 1 for the day. 2 paths. We took the right side. Left side was shorter, but it was 2 feet of water on top of about 18 to 24 inches of muck. Walking on the bank of that side we didn't take, we found 2 broken bumpers, so yeah, no, lots more to see. I choose life. Coming out of here, you'll see the stick on the right there. I jammed into the deep part to measure stuff out. It was pretty hard to pull out, so I just left it there as a warning to others. Another water crossing. It was cool to look back and see all the muck you stirred up totally settle back down in about a minute. This one, though, led us to our next obstacle. We called it the hill that never ends. It wasn't anything like ultra technical, like we weren't climbing up rock shelves or anything. It was just a very long, steady hill. You just put her in 4 low and first gear and let it idle up.
Eventually, we'll get to the top of this hill.
The rest of the morning was more of the same. Mud pits, mud tracks, gullies, forest roads, small water crossings, even a couple short pavement transits. Nothing glossing over on purpose, but there's so much more cool stuff the rest of these days I want to show you. Speaking of cool stuff, it's lunchtime. We picked a large open area at another water crossing to take 30 minutes to eat, stretch our legs, catch up on texts. This was one of the few places that had a bar to cell reception. And I took a 15-minute nap myself with my legs out the window. Just take a listen to this. Picking up and cleaning up after lunch, we headed on the trail and went around Pilot Knob. Look at that view. Holy Hannah. As we got later on in the day, we just kept driving along the trail. Again, a lot of the same. Mud pits, forest road, rocky roads, ups and downs. Not glossing over it on purpose, but you have to experience this for yourself. There's only so long you're going to watch this video anyway. Then all of a sudden, pop, we go down this little hill, and it's a highway. So we turn along the trail. This is a little pavement transit, and we end up going over this awesome, beautiful, long one-lane bridge. This is sped up a little bit. I took my time across this one. Camp was just on the other side of the bridge. Another awesome day in the books, another awesome campsite. Our trail leader, Chris, has done the trail before, and man, did he know the awesome spots. Note I'm not telling you exactly where they are. You get to find these cool spots on your own. We were tuckered out. The Beagle Porthos was definitely ready for bed, but we had another fire, and you just can't escape the awesomeness of a clear night. Rise and shine, campers. Time for day 3. This day was a little shorter for me personally. I had to leave the group for the morning, but they started out from camp, and the next camp was on the river near the Reading Recreation Area. I met up back with them just northeast of Ozone at a cool old farmstead with buildings you could enter and look around. Definitely a stop. Breakfast and breaking camp was never rushed, but we never ate too far into the day. Here, Jeff sent the drone up above the fog bank to check it out. I love this trip. Could you tell? I didn't get away scot-free without some ribbing. This was them recording me leaving the campsite for the morning. And here I am pulling into that farm I talked about earlier. Totally, you guys need to check this thing out. It is pretty darn cool. There's a main farmhouse off to the right. There's a cistern or kind of a root cellar, depending on how you look at it. There's a barn. There's an outhouse, and there's this gorgeous stone wall that stretches around the entire property. Take some time. Give yourself like 20, 30 minutes to really explore this one out.
7 days.
So, leaving the farm and heading to Ozone for lunch, there's a few water crossings and some fun and mud areas. I started taking a little more aggressive stance on lines and things. Everything does happen for a reason, so that aggressive stance kind of feeds into what I hopefully you haven't forgotten about in the opening sequence of this video when I asked, how am I going to get this home? It's coming. There was a property here that clearly had too many people going into his driveway, so I'll always keep an eye out for signs that you don't necessarily see on the maps. Here, one more water crossing before we get moving.
Alright, I'm gonna go stick a fork in this one and see what it's like.
In this section, if you go right, you're in off-camber mud. If you go to the left, you're in even more off-camber hill and rocks and dirt.
Hits just keep on coming up here.
The final stretch coming up here, it was one of the only 2 places on this whole trail network that I scraped my skid
See
plates.
how dumb this is gonna be here. What's up? Hey. Funny meeting you here.
This part of the trail network was actually surprisingly technical. A lot of little crawling over rocks and things. This guy walking up here had some side-by-sides. They got a little buggered on this, and we lost radio contact with them.
Yeah, Alright, here we go. Feels like my passenger's gonna drop here in a sec too. Yep.
In a high-clearance vehicle, again, nothing too crazy, but just enough to make you slow down and think as you're going through this. We were about 3/4 mile from the exit of the trail for the day at this point, but the rest of this thing kept us on our toes. Off camber, mud pits, rock piles, all that kept the stuff in the Jeep sloshing from side to side, and front and back. Alicia back here hit the gas pedal a little too hard on that one, but that was awesome. It was going so well right until, boom, water port falls off. I sheared the riv nuts right out of the back. Crap. Slosh in the mud, pick it up, handle some laughing, laugh at myself, throw it in the trasharoo, back on the trail. Quick lick on pavement and a little dirt to our campsite. That's the end of the day. Other than my water port, no one or no rig is worse for the wear. Alright, day 4 and all is well. Well, kinda. So congratulations, you have been slogging through my video and you made it. You made it to when I broke down. We started at camp and we're supposed to end up over here at the start of day 5, but we only made out to the lookout here. FYI, the crawl, yes, crawl, word on purpose, to that lookout was 10 miles in 3 hours. So just to be 100% clear with you folks, the video today only takes the backside of this loop up to the lookout at Flag Gap at the top there. About 2 miles down the right side of the loop is as far as my Jeep made it that day. As we started day 4, we didn't have any notes on any of the maps we had that it was going to be the most technical day by far. There were other notes about challenge area or rocky area, but there was nothing we had on day 4. This was, to me, the funnest day, the most technical day, the most everything. Climbing, technical stuff, nothing that is going to throw you into peril, but very, very, very fun day.
The trash you find alongside the road is amazing.
I am sparkling and unique.
A short Spy Rock trail, maybe about a 10-minute hike from the road to a really awesome overlook. Trail was covered in rocks, so watch your ankles. So we only ended up being able to do the western half of the loop on day 4, but I tell you, we picked the best part of that trail if you're into climbing, off-camber washes, rocks, and mud. The west part of the loop running south to north took us 3 hours. So this next section we're going to come to here, which is a big mud playground, was kind of the beginning of the end of my Jeep for the day.
This Jeep supposed to squeak like that?
It sounds like a U-joint. That's a U-joint saying, Uncle.
Exiting the muddy area, there was a neat little rock crawl. Alicia and I rolled our way through it, and then we were on our way again. Continuing up the climb, the trail started twisting and turning and climbing up more and more and more technical rock. At this point, we've got 1.5 miles of trail till we get up to the top, and my Jeep starts making some gross noises. I have to pull over and take a look. At this point, it's too far to go back, so we just press onward. Worst case, I move the Jeep off the trail when it breaks down and I ride out with someone else. We get parts and come back in. I swear the trails know my Jeep is now braking. It's super, super getting fun now, but I have to be too cautious to fully enjoy it. Our awesome trail guide Chris is out walking the dog while we're all working our way through another ledge. I drive past him and he gives me just a salty look. The noise is getting even worse.
Heard the pop on that one. Heard the pop on that one.
Not ready to let us relax yet. The trail brings us to another muddy area that is absolutely rutted out with super deep mud pits every which way. We pick the best line we can and Chris hammers it to get stuck straight out. Break out the straps again, it's winching time. Hilariously, as soon as we get him through, we walk back to the Jeeps and find a bypass back down the trail a ways, and we all just take that. I would have totally bombed through this if the darn noise just didn't keep getting worse, and now I feel grinding in the floorboards and the steering wheel. We finally get to the top, the lookout at Fly Gap, and we can pull off to assess the damage.
He's done. Wow, that was fast. You're not driving home with that though. Nope. The bearing has now evolved into a baby seal squeaky.
Get about a mile down the road to find a campsite on the right-hand side here and pull in, pull straight forward, and this is where the Jeep's going to sit until we get her fixed. Woo, wheel bearing. Man, when I use my stuff till it breaks. Wheel bearing and hub were totally shot when we jacked it up. Ball bearings were falling out. Jeff and Alicia graciously offered to run to the parts store, and we had it fixed before dinner. Massive, massive shout-outs to Chris, Ellen, Jeff, Alicia, and Byrne for their help getting this swapped out so quickly. Well, it was near dinner time, and we decided it's a beautiful campground, it's a beautiful day, so why not just make camp here? Some steak and potatoes on the campfire, and we settled into what would be my last night in the Ozark National Forest. Holy heck, you guys. I would go back and run this entire trail system again in a heartbeat. I didn't get to finish the last day and a half, but I have no doubt that it was as epic or more so than what we had already done. If you're thinking of taking this trail on, just do it. Stop thinking about it. Totally worth every mud pit, sore back, smashed finger, time away from work, and destroyed wheel bearing. Hit me up in the comments if you want to know more or have questions about my time on this trail. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to have me keep going out and doing more stuff like this so I can keep showing you what's out there so you can find your own adventure. Heck yeah. Ooh, an after credits scene. On my drive back home, I missed out on stuff like this.
Take my ring.